Good afternoon, everybody. Rosanna here, channeling RozyGlow. How you doing? In case you're not clear what that actually means, me, human self, Rosanna. Frequency, I channel RozyGlow. Okay, so this is the frequency of grace. It's taken me this many years to know that's what it is, but this is where we are, and we channel information, or I channel information through the Co-Creation Collective. So, hello Eva, hello Kelly, it's lovely to see you. Today's prayer has been posted already. I just haven't had a chance to get live, and it's been so interesting because, there's been quite a lot that has triggered me and tested me recently to make a choice, whether I'm feeding the old narrative, the old story, the old me, or I'm actually stepping fully into my power as the new version of myself that I've been co-creating all this time. And part of this process is about being able to say, I'm not entertaining that anymore. I'm not going into that anymore. I'm not giving that my energy. Whatever it is, it could be a person, a situation, a memory, whatever it is, there comes a point where we have to draw lines. And if you actually go onto the RozyGlow Facebook page, I made quite a long comment, which I might share with you now, about what inspired this particular prayer. Because as you grow in yourself and as you evolve into a master version of yourself, and you really learn to be able to keep showing up. So, it's worth saying, what is a master? A master is someone who has been able to learn something to a point where they can easily emulate it, they can easily teach it, they can easily put it forward without thinking twice. So, for example, when I first trained as a yoga teacher, I had a lot of things I needed to think about. These days, I just show up and I teach. How do you master driving? Well, first of all, when you learn to drive, there's lots of things that you need to factor in. You then qualify, right? And as a result of that, you're then qualified, but that does not make you a safe driver necessarily. It doesn't make you an experienced driver. It takes practice and experience that leads you there. So you have an idea of what a master teacher is in terms of a senior yoga teacher. That's 10,000 hours of teaching time plus, and that tends to go for any profession. So if you've got to that point of experience, it's a lot. 10,000 hours is a lot, right? And that just basically says you've had a lot of experience. You have learnt through many different scenarios that you won't have encountered through your training how to deal with your profession, how to deal with people, how to deal with whatever shows up in a way that is for the highest good of all, okay? In a way that is balanced, and you're not just reacting, but you're learning from experience. So one of the things that I've really noticed as I've been growing in my own light is how other people respond to that. And if anyone has an inferiority complex, they are gonna feel threatened, right? So any of us who feel that we're in any way lacking are going to be challenged by people who seem to have what we actually want. And depending on how honest we actually are with ourselves, they're either going to choose to learn from the people who have mastered, or compete with, or challenge, or in some way try to usurp. It's very interesting, the shadow side of all of this, and it very much depends on how open and honest your dialogue is with yourself. Because when you don't own something in you, a fear in you, which is a false emotion appearing real, or a false expectation appearing real, or false evidence appearing real, which comes out in such a way, so when you don't actually own it, you will end up not seeing it in yourself, and you'll project it onto others. And all it actually takes to shift this is the willingness to say, I have a fear that I'm not very good at this. I have a fear that actually if people really saw me and where I'm at, they wouldn't respect me for what I actually know now. And this is the value of humility, is you being able to say, look, I understand this in theory, in principle, but I haven't got a lot of experience in it. That instantly will command some respect versus, oh, yeah, I know what I'm doing, yeah. And then you basically do your best to not fluff it, right? Or you do your best not to sort of fall in it. So what my invitation is here, because this issue has come up with women for me particularly, and it has been, in each instance, women that don't feel how can I put it, whole in themselves, as though they are enough in themselves, and therefore project that outwards. So there's a need to be seen to be more than they actually feel they are by others, right? And this goes for all of us. This is what inferiority complexes are. And it is tough when you're around people who are in their power if you don't feel in your power. But guess what? If you want to get in your power, then you learn from people who are in their power. You don't flip and compete with them. You learn what they're doing, and you seek to learn how to do that yourself. And that's what it comes to. So that's the hard graft. That's what comes from experience. And I really respect people who are honest about where they are on their path. What I personally don't respect, and what really gets my goat is when people are not accountable. Now, this is a blind spot, right? So if it gets my goat, there is a fear in me of not being accountable all of the time. And it is one of those things that when you value integrity, you don't like the idea of slipping up with that. And we all have blind spots, right? So sometimes we can overly hold ourselves accountable. And also we can end up in situations where we're like, oh, like maybe I messed up there. Oh, I'm not sure. Oh, let me cover it up. And it's like that honest dialogue that you want to have with yourself. That's like, it's okay. There's something to learn from every exchange. How can I show up in the best possible way? And is where I'm pitching at now a vibration that I want to be energizing? Sometimes we will respond with anger. Sometimes we will, if your boundaries are being pushed, you are going to respond with anger. It is a healthy thing to do, to go, that is not working for me, sorry. And honouring that is very, very important. For anyone who is a people pleaser, we want to save grace all the time. We want to come out with the best possible spiritual, enlightened, together essence, rather than saying our truth. I'm sorry, I'm not buying that. I'm sorry, that doesn't sit true with me. I'm sorry, that's not how I want things to work here, actually. And it really does depend on your authority in the situation. So for me, whether that's working with people who work for my companies, or whether it is someone who is a teacher, someone who's working in administration, someone I'm taking on as a service provider, all of these things require that I accept where my position is and the fact that others are working for me. If I lower myself to a place where I'm like, oh yeah, like, what do you think, what do you think, what do you think? And I keep giving my power away, at some point I'm going to end up in some kind of struggle or battle, right? So this goes for you in any area of your life, is if you step down from the authority that you actually have in certain areas, you are selling yourself short, and you are doing that because you have a fear of being in your power. This is very, very important, because oftentimes we're scared of being in our power because we don't want people jealous, envious, resentful of the fact that we have something they don't. But you know what? If you're there, you've earned it. Step into it, own it, and be the best that you can be. Okay? So I'm going to move into the prayer. I've just realised I haven't put my phone on silent, so I apologise. I will in a minute. Good morning, diamonds. Today as I wake, the message is simple. Switch the focus from problem to solution. How can this fuck up come to be? The very best thing that could be happening. As I employ my win-win-win, intention setting paradigm, I know and trust everything is lining up. And now I am mastering, keeping my vibration set to the me I am becoming. Yes, the tests can feel relentless as my higher self checks how my response has shifted. Can I stay centered and energize that which I want? Or do I descend into the old self I once was? And if I go down, what happens next? Can I spiral back up, forgive and forget? For being in truth and responding to lies can feel distorted and overwhelming at times. The key is always to give to self. Compassion, understanding and unconditional help. To come to acceptance with this simple fact. Out of love for myself, I am letting go of the past. I am that I am. Hey Courtney, welcome, welcome. So that is about letting go of old stories, about yourself, about other people. It is really important to let things go and just to deal with the now. However, with that, there is always a backstory, isn't there? There's who you were and who you are now and who you would like to become. So in any one moment when you are interacting with others, you will either come from the you that you were, the you that you are now, or the you that you would like to become. And obviously you're more likely to come from the you that you are now, the you of the past, than the you that you're going to become, because you haven't met that vibration yet. So through everything that comes up, this is definitely a time period of, it feels like separating the wheat from the chaff and being able to say, without having to apologise for it anymore, what don't you want in your life? Who don't you want in your life? Who are you done with? What's going on that you're like, you know what, I cannot be bothered to keep going into this energy exchange anymore. It's not working for me. I'm going to stop feeding it and trying to make it right, because that plays into the whole narrative about me being a good girl, and if I work hard enough, I'll get the results. No, you are always interplaying with others. And actually, for me, the anger that comes up these days is when I don't honour myself. It is when I have a hunch and I don't follow it, and I try and rationalise a different choice to what my hunch actually tells me. And what's so interesting about that is the hunch is always right. If you've aligned with your divine self, if you've aligned with your divine design, if you have aligned with your highest version of yourself, then your hunch is right. If you haven't, then you're very likely going to be getting hunches from your ego programming, which are all fear-based hunches designed to keep you where you are. So I have seen this in others. I have seen that their perception is very different to mine, but it is coming from a place of fear, and it's coming from a place where something hasn't been uncovered. When you have a deep fear, whatever that is, that there's some. I don't want to go into the details of it because it's not about specific people. But when you have a fear about yourself that you're not owning, it might be that actually most of us feel like we're fraudulent. Most of us feel like we're not actually we're not who we say we are, or we're hiding things. You know, this is the thing that people really have about transparency and accountability and integrity. Is that doesn't mean you have to be perfect. That doesn't mean that you have sorted all of your shit out, whatever that is. What it means is that you own it when it comes up and you go, oh yeah, I can see that, right? But usually we can get stuck in a story that then gets fueled every time you exchange with someone else, and it's just a narrative about how you perceive someone. And the only way things can change there is if people are willing to be accountable, if they're willing to learn from their mistakes, if they are willing to understand that there is always it's important to validate your perspective and own that it's how you feel, and that's okay, but also to widen your perspective and to see what else is going on there. And if you keep getting the same message again and again and again from other people and you are not actually taking it on board, then that is your higher self trying to communicate with you, and then the you that is refusing to hear it is your ego refusing to hear it because you don't want to change. The irony in that is if you're willing to own something that you haven't owned to that point, you have a huge breakthrough, because all it is a part of you that isn't being loved by you, that you're expecting other people to accept when you don't. So I have a real issue with energy workers, for example, in terms of the fact that I feel working with energy is something that is difficult to quantify, right? So how centered and balanced someone is, how able they are to actually handle their own lives is very important. So if I'm working with someone who's super, super sensitive and they actually cannot manage their own energy, so they can't hold space without taking the energy of others on, I don't perceive that they should be doing energy work, quite frankly. That's what it comes down to, is you have to learn how to maintain your energy. Professionalism, again, what is professionalism? Well, professionalism is being able to state clearly that what you say you can do, you can actually deliver on, and then you can conduct yourself in a professional manner. That means you don't throw your toys out the pram. That means you don't make accusations. That means that you are able to hear things and to move out of reactionary behaviour. Now, walking walks and talking talks are two different things. I'm a 40-year-old woman, right? The woman I was at 20, at 25, at 30, at 35 is very different to now. And I have a lot less to hide now than I ever did because of where I have got to in myself in terms of self-acceptance. So whilst you've got stuff to hide, whilst you've got stuff you're not at peace with in yourself, you are going to have a lot going on in terms of trying to maintain your vibration. And I say the word trying because what will be happening is you have an outer persona and then you have your inner world. And if the two are not congruent, this is where problems show up. So I'm going to read the prayer again, and I'm inviting you to remember that the only person's approval that you actually really need is your own. The only person who you need forgiveness from is yourself. And the only person that needs to back you up, the only person that is required to support you, to be your own best friend, to be your own coach, to be your own cheerleader is you, right? And being able to put your own self on the lap, your own lap, and go, what's happened here? You know, what's going on? How are you feeling? What are you wanting to express that isn't being heard? Where are you not hearing yourself? We're listening. I'm here. I'm with you. And you have that inner dialogue. Everything changes. So for me, one thing I learnt recently was being that I am such a stickler for accountability, where I wasn't being accountable with myself is I was not listening to my hunches. Okay, this was a blind spot. I was not actually owning how I truly feel, and I was trying to make situations I wasn't happy with look better on the surface and try and negotiate it without saying, you know what, this isn't working. I've given it a go. I've said how I feel. The response I'm getting isn't filling me with confidence, so I'm going to move on from this. You give it one chance after another, whether it is work, whether it is a relationship. I'm not going to lie, I spent 18 months basically regretting a decision I made that was the right decision, but I doubted myself and I believed someone else's truth over mine. This was a very, very deep emotional tie that taught me so much recently, and clearing that was what led me to being where I am now in my relationship with my partner, which is awesome. And it literally had to be, no, I don't care what the excuse is, this isn't acceptable, and if this is all that can be put to the table, I'm out. But then you doubt yourself and you go, oh no, but if I'd just done this and I'd just done this and I'd been a little bit more patient and I'd waited a little more, bollocks. Okay? If you are on a path where you are truly seeking to align with the greatest version of yourself, and you intend that every day, and you show up every day willing to learn and to do whatever it takes to align with that, you have my utmost respect, honey, and you are going a long way. But then you really do want to start trusting your hunches, okay? If, though, you want to stay stuck in a narrative, you want to stay stuck in a story, and by the way, yeah, I am premenstrual if I'm sounding a little bit edgy, and you want to keep affirming something about how you see yourself in the world and other people that isn't actually true, then it's not going to be much fun. Hello, DC bound. So let's get the prayer going again. And if anyone has any comments, I'd be really up for hearing them, because this is a really important thing, because so many women and men suffer from saying the right thing rather than how they actually feel. But you know, this is not about attacking others. This is just about owning how you feel and not having to justify the fact that you're not going to be a vibrational match to everyone. So cut yourself the slack, the waste of energy that comes from trying to make everything work, when you could actually just shift your vibration and then see what comes up that's in alignment with that and give that a go. So if we want to create with grace and ease, we want to co-create with people that we can co-create gracefully and easily with. And then they are willing and you are willing to overcome challenges, you have got a beautiful match. If, though, you find that you're constantly trying to find ways to get yourself heard and you're constantly dealing with someone else's resistance, they're not ready to meet you in this vibrational space. So take heed of that, whether it's personal or professional relationships. That's really important. Good afternoon, diamonds. This is the prayer. Today, as I wake, the message is simple. Switch the focus from problem to solution. How can this fuck up come to be? The very best thing that could be happening. As I employ my win-win-win intention setting paradigm. I know and trust everything is lining up, and now I am mastering, keeping my vibration set to the me I am becoming. Yes, the tests can feel relentless as my higher self checks how my response has shifted. Can I stay centered and energize that which I want? Or do I descend into the old self I once was, people pleasing? And if I go down, what happens next? Can I spiral back up, forgive and forget? Forgive yourself. For being in truth and responding to lies. Okay, so lies are false expectations appearing real, other people's perception of stuff that isn't based on integrity. Can feel distorted and overwhelming at times. The key is always to give to self compassion, understanding and unconditional help. To come to acceptance with this simple fact. Out of love for myself, I am letting go of the past. I am that I am. So what that means is you don't keep trying to create something good out of something that isn't working, okay? There is a point, you take a step back, you see what you could do differently, you come back, you give it another go. If it's not happening after that second go, seriously, how many times are you going to do it? Like, if you keep doing the same thing again and again and again, expecting a different result, that is silly, okay? That is not going to get you anywhere. That's just going to keep you going round and round in circles. And you really get success when you align and you consciously, it's basically conscious mind control, okay? You clear your subconscious programming and then you are disciplined in your mindset. So there was one thing I wanted to go over here, which was, what happens next? Can I spiral back up, forgive and forget? For being in truth. Now, forgiving and forgetting, that means not churning over a story again and again, and I find that really difficult. Okay, if something's really got me, I have to find lots of ways to clear it. There's the anger video on YouTube if you haven't got it already. Making these prayers is really, really helpful as well. Working with sphere of compassion, but like really letting stuff go, because truth is really important to me. It always has been. And you know, when it feels like there's an untruth that isn't being resolved, that is upsetting. Hello, Bayo. So it is important to own what really matters to you, okay? And when I talk about responding to lies, if you are seeking to live in integrity yourself, you expect as a result of that everybody else is coming to you with that same integrity, that same intention. But not everybody has that. So if you see through eyes of love and you love what you see, you're looking for opportunities to grow. Sometimes part of seeing through eyes of love and loving what you see is being able to recognize that someone else isn't in that place. They're not seeing through eyes of love and seeking to evolve their consciousness. They just want to stay right. They want to control. They want to feel safe through manipulation. You're not going to get anywhere there. So it's helpful just to say namaste and walk away, right? So you have to be your own barometer of all these things. You have to take the situations, learning to use less toxic language, okay? So you don't have to do anything, but the invitation is to be able to take a step back, to look at these things and to say, okay, what am I learning here about myself? If I show up and I really back myself up, okay, then I am really self-supporting. I'm supporting myself. And then what I will do is I will attract others who are self-supporting, who are basically managing themselves without veneers, without fronts. But if you are in a place where you are still putting a front on, yeah, which we all do, like we all have a persona, we all have a mask, and that's okay. It's just knowing what is and what isn't. If you haven't actually got to a place where you feel you can be straight up, which is why I'm here having this conversation with you now, it's me being straight up, then you're going to come across others who are doing the same. So sometimes what happens is people are in our lives today that were a vibrational match to where we were a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever, and we now get this opportunity to say, actually, this is not a vibrational match for me anymore, and I'm just taking a step back, and I don't have to feel bad about that. That's not rejection, that's not abandonment, that's not betrayal. It would be if you didn't listen to yourself, because you are then rejecting your truth, you're abandoning your truth, and you're betraying your truth. So be in your truth, whatever that is. And I want to mention my friend Kate Coulson at this point, because she taught me so much. She doesn't question a sense of right or wrong. She knows what's right and wrong. And she will not apologise for being angry about something or saying to someone how displeased she is about their behaviour. And I really respect her about that. You know your line with Kate. You don't cross it, right? Thankfully, I haven't had any of that from her. But that feels really safe when you know what someone is about and you know what they stand for, rather than their goalposts keep moving because they're trying to keep you happy and they're trying to keep you smiling, and you know they just want you to like them. So I am not invested in you liking me. If you like what I do, awesome. If you love what I do, even better. If this is helping you out, great. If you find it all a load of dribble, no problem. Okay, move on. Stop following me. Go somewhere else. It's like you don't have to subject yourself to this. Anyway, one more time with the prayer, okay, because this is about you backing yourself up, and then I'm going to leave it. So, good afternoon, diamonds. Today as I wake, the message is simple. Switch the focus from problem to solution. How can this fuck up come to be? The very best thing that could be happening. As I employ my win-win-win intention setting paradigm. Because that's what we do every morning. We want the best for everybody, right? I know and trust everything is lining up. And now I am mastering keeping my vibration set to the me I am becoming. Yes, the tests can feel relentless as my higher self checks how my response has shifted. Can I stay centered and energize that which I want? Or do I descend into the old self I once was? And if I go down, what happens next? Can I spiral back up, forgive and forget? For being in truth and responding to lies can feel distorted and overwhelming at times. The key is always to give to self compassion, understanding and unconditional help. To come to acceptance with this simple fact: out of love for myself, I am letting go of the past. I am that, I am. And in our honest communication, we get to see our blind spots. So it's okay if something gets revealed through you speaking a truth that you hadn't considered before. It's okay if you see where something in you you're not aware of gets brought to light. But buying other people's stories about what is true when you know it's totally out of context, you know that's not what it's about and it's a deflection. It's just like, don't do it. Don't entertain it. There's no need for it. Okay? It's like, the world is full of how many souls? At least 7 billion, all at different stages of their own evolution. In being able to actually own where you have mastered something, you stop having conversations with people about their perception of what you have mastered when they're not in a state of mastery yet. Just let it go, smile, namaste. You know, it's like, okay, I understand that my perspective has been gained from all of the experience that I currently have. And your perspective has been gained from all the experience you currently have. And between us both right now, it is very clear that my perception is based on much more experience than you. That does not mean that I am above you. It just means I have more experience in this area and therefore more credibility. So you can either accept that or not. You can learn from it or not. And beginner's mind is very interesting as well, because you can actually learn a lot from people who are starting their journey if they have propensity towards discipleship, being willing to learn, accountability and humility. If you consider yourself to be a master the moment you have qualified, good luck, sweetheart. That is going to take a long time for you to learn your way around. And again, I don't suffer fools gladly. So when I say that statement, what I mean is I don't like to pander to people's egos. I don't like people pandering to my ego, okay? If I've kicked in, I want you to tell me. If my ego programming's kicked in, I want you to let me know. And that goes for anybody. So I'm going to leave that there with you all. I really welcome the conversation, because getting real online, you know, really speaking up and being prepared to call stuff out is really important. Again, being willing to be wrong as well as something is revealed. I'm all up for that. It's all good. So here I am. Sending you loads of love. Have a beautiful day. Namaste. Oh, actually, sorry, just forgot. New moon meditation tomorrow, 8 p.m. on YouTube channel. So if you'd like to join me for that, what I'm really seeing here this month with this new moon, it's in Pisces. So there's a real Christ consciousness thing going on with it. We are going to be marrying the sacred feminine frequencies with Christ consciousness in the new moon, and what that actually looks like to be coming from your most evolved feminine and your most evolved masculine, and moving forward into the month and into your intentions for the summer. So come join me tomorrow, 8 p.m. Lots of love. Take care.